you found. So how did you come in possession of these records?
Well, it's an interesting story. I guess maybe I should give some background. I'm a American Farriers Association certified farrier.
Which is?
Well, it's a horseshoeing. You shoe horses, and also there's some blacksmithing involved in it. So I would make my own shoes. So I did this for about 18 years in the Sayville area and all around Long Island.
For yourself as a self-employed person?
Yes. So I went to school in New Mexico to learn this from a very famous and well-known world champion blacksmith, a man named Jim Keith, who's a legend. So when I found out about that he was actually teaching at that time, I was really thrilled to find out that I was accepted to the school, and I drove out to New Mexico and I went to school to learn the trade. And I got my certification out there, and I came back to New York, and that's when I started to apprentice with a couple of established horseshoers, and from there I went out on my own. But about the ledger, someone contacted me who knew I was interested in Farrier, books and anything that has to do with horseshoeing. And they told me that they had this ledger from Sayville. They knew I was from Sayville and the area. So I was obviously very interested in obtaining it.
So may we ask who contacted you and how they had the book? Was that?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I don't remember his name.
Okay.
All right. But he's there. The book was in the Massachusetts area. Okay. So I paid about $300 for it. It wasn't cheap, but I didn't care because I knew it was a treasure, and it is. It's even better than I thought. It's amazing the amount of information in here. And the ledger is from probably one of the most interesting times in the 19th century. It goes from 1860 to 1866.
Wow.
All right. And the ledger is of a blacksmith who worked in the Sayville area, and his name is Jonas Hawkins. Of course, the name Hawkins is very familiar to people who know anything about history, and of course there's Hawkins Avenue. So he was one of the Hawkins family, and I got the book. They sent it to me, and I opened it up, and it was just, the man kept very detailed, a detailed ledger on all of the work that he did on every famous or well-known person of the time in Sayville.
So he would be entering as he did each
Yeah.
job for
Yes.
each person.
And it isn't just horseshoe. You have to remember, we have to go back to a time when obviously there were no automobiles. So he did a lot of repairs on the carriages, and any type of repair on farm equipment, and repairs on simple things like shovels and hand tools. So basically you have the resident of Sayville, and you could more or less ascertain what these people were doing, what type of equipment they were working with, perhaps the type of horses that they had. It's just amazing. It's just really incredible. And of course, this is during the Civil War. So right now, we scanned 100 pages of 300. It's over 300 pages of information in this ledger. This is the ledger right here. It's a little windy. I could take it out.
So this book would be his business.
Yes.
Really, right there.
Yes, it's a ledger of every job that he did. It's obviously very old.
Yeah.
I don't want to open up because there's wind here. Otherwise, it's flying all over the place. Okay, so what I'm really interested in doing, because right now I just really obtained this about, a little over a month ago, a month and a half. And I just got a new job, and I'm working full time. So we're trying to squeeze this into my schedule. But one of the things that I want to do, and I want to kind of get people tempted into really being interested in this, because it's something, it's significant. So what we have to do is basically collate, I guess that's the word, right? The information that's in here, because everything is dated. Like, it would be 1860s. It goes from January, February, and each day and each person. But so each individual has their own page. So I have to basically get all the dates, collated and organized, and find out exactly how much he did each day. And
I guess so. Like, you could get an idea of what his basic day was like.
Right. And what makes this really interesting is I don't know if there's anything else like this. So we could get an idea of what life was like day by day in our area. So this is really intriguing. This is something.
So, like, for example, okay, it's not like Ace Hardware. You break your shovel, you go buy a new shovel.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say somebody brought him a shovel to fix.
And it's in here.
So you want to see, does he wait and do all the shovels in one day?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to have a certain kind of tool ready
or
something?
I mean, that's possible.
Is that what you're looking for?
That's possible. So he was. They're also known as wheelwrights. So they worked on the wagon wheels because they didn't have tires. They had steel rims around the wagons, and they would wear out after a while. So he would replace those rims, and so that from what I could see so far, that he did a lot of that.
And each person, how he organized it, was each person or household had their own page in his book? Because I saw one of the pages of the book, and I didn't quite really get how it was organized.
Yeah,
I thought it was one day.
Apparently, that's what he did. You have to remember that each customer had to get a lot of it. Again, we're going back when you had things on credit and account. People trusted each other back then. It was a small world. It was a very small, intimate community. So you went to the blacksmith and you needed something done, and he'd write it down, and eventually you'd run up a little bit of a credit line, and then you'd go and pay him.
Yeah, but Diane was saying something about cabbages on one of the pages.
Yes, apparently, it was an agrarian society. So one of the things we want to find out is what these people were growing, and the funny thing is, it's apparently a lot of them paid with like cabbages, and they paid with potatoes.
You could say, do we know where he lived in Sayville?
And
where his shop was?
Yeah, we have an idea where it was. He sold the business in 1866. His wife passed during the time of this ledger, and I think he also had a child who passed. So he went through some traumatic times while he was in business here. But right now, what this is all about is just letting people know that I have this in my possession, that I'm going to get all the information together, and then in the future, I'm either going to write a book about it, or we're going to have we could have another talk about exactly, what kind of discoveries that have been found. It's exciting, and I think people would be really interested in knowing what this community was like during the Civil War, who was living here, who went to him for whatever they needed done, and how they paid.